Hey everyone, John here from School of Trade. Today we're going to be taking a look at a beautiful little setup off the channel low here on crude oil. So we're looking long at 28.03. Stop is down at 27.91. The first target is going to be at around that midline resistance, so we can drop our first target there. And then the final target, we're looking for a run back up to the channel high, so we can put our final target up there. So today's a little bit kind of interesting here on the S&P and crude oil and pretty much every market around. We're still seeing huge volume coming in, but they're hyper slow. We're not seeing them actually go very far. A lot of the markets have ended up in somewhat of a range this morning. Crude oil, I think, by far the worst of the bunch in terms of ranginess. So I like this as a range. You can also easily see a nice weak bull channel working its way up, and that's what we're coming off of the low of. So with that weak bull channel test and a very predominant range inside here, we're coming off the lows of that as well. So this is the exact area where we want to be looking to get in long. Now we just have to kind of work it out and let it do its thing up to our targets. So that first target's coming off at that midline resistance. We can see that several times through this move we've had bounces and bounces and bounces and bounces. So this area is an area of interest. If we come back up there, I'm not going to try to force the market to go through that location. It doesn't make any sense. So much better just to take our profit there for that first target. Now that first target from our entry point here is going to be at 19 ticks. And then our larger target outside of that at 28, this is going to move, but 28.45 or so will be at 42 ticks. So the reason I say it's going to move is because unless we go all the way up to the channel highs in this one candle, we're going to have to kind of migrate this forward a little bit as we get going. But outside of that, everything looking really good. We're coming off of range lows. We're seeing support coming off of the range lows. Our stop is relatively small. Everything just kind of coming together here. This range itself, I'm really not anticipating this breaking out. It feels like ever, I mean, we do have inventories coming out later today due to the Monday holiday. It was pushed back a little bit. And so we are expecting to see some volume come in at the news, but that's not until later today at 11 o'clock. So, I mean, we're not even at 8:30 yet, let alone 11 o'clock. We may be stuck in this range until that news comes out. So I'm not really anticipating the market going very far at all in terms of a breakout move outside of this just kind of weak trend working its way up here. So we have our entry at 28.03. We can see them coming back and tapping that channel again and bouncing higher. So we are seeing more confirmation of the buyers buying this low. Now we just have to let them do their stuff and get back up to that channel midline and then farther up to our overall objective target at the channel high. So we'll give it a little bit of time here and see if we can get our targets filled. All right, seeing the buyers come one tick away from our first target, 28.21. There we get it filled. So now our stop can go to half size. Forgot to adjust the stop there. And then we will move that right to break even. Now, the way that this is setting up, you definitely can anticipate some form of pullback because a lot of people are going to be taking profit around this area. We've seen this area, like we said earlier, act as a decent amount of support and resistance the entire morning. So instead of going to +1, I'm going to try to give this as much room as I can and just go to regular break even. That should, hopefully that's enough to keep it in. If it's not, we already have our first target met, but just trying to give it as much room as possible for any type of whip and profit-taking pull downs that we get off of this sort of midline area here. Now, outside of that, everything else looking still nice and strong. That came back, got that little test intra-candle and shot right through the highs. That gave a lot of strength to the upside. I think a lot of buyers see that, and they're trying to get that move back up to those range highs. So we'll give it a little bit more time here, see if we can get that move back up and get our target at 28 right now, 44. Continuing to see a strong bull bias forming here. We are nearing into our first target. Stop has gone underneath this little minor swing low that happened here at 28.09. But given the proximity to our target now, I really don't want to see this pull back a whole lot. So I want to find options to move my stop a little bit higher up. But the problem that sort of makes that a little more difficult is we had this humongous engulfing candle form right here. Oh, testing the target. There we got it filled. Perfect. I was going to say we had this big old engulfing candle form, and that just causes a lot of problems. Because the candle is so big, it's really hard to try to figure out a good spot to move your stop. You don't really want to move it underneath this one because it's pretty far away. It still locks it into some profit, but it's pretty far away. That one's a really weak candle, so it is likely that they come back and bounce underneath that, so you don't really want to put it under there. And that's all of your options. You really don't have anything else. So that makes it a little bit more difficult. Overall, though, beautiful move up. We got our targets filled, 4 contracts long off of that low. In terms of profitability, that's 120 ticks to the upside, 1,200 on that move up. Beautiful move. Again, we're stuck in a range. We're at the range highs now. You want to be finding reasons to sell at this point. But everything came together really nicely off of that slight rising support inside of that low of the range. Can't really ask for much better setup than that. So that's going to do it for me. If you have any questions about it, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. Don't forget to check out our trial at schooloftrade.com. And as always, we'll catch you next time.